Hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. Brian Traskos from Motivation Beyond Measure and co-creator of Sensation-Based Motivation Coaching. Welcome back for your Friday Flow Shot. We are trailing off, getting through our 2-week series on reprogramming our immune system. We started off, of course, with our physical tuning, physical body tuning, and now we're working through emotional tuning. So over the last few days, we have talked about the emotional resistance archetypes. We started off talking about the first archetype of the judge, which is associated with anger. Then and the resolving factor of forgiveness. Then we talked about the emotional archetype of the victim, which is the energy of blame. Someone else is responsible for how I'm feeling, and the balancing factor of acceptance. Just yesterday, we talked about I can't. We talked about the being needy emotional resistance archetype and the I can't, and the resolving factor of inner strength. So today, before we move into experiencing or in talking about emotional resistance archetype number 4, let's just take a moment to center ourselves. Hopefully you've already done your body tuning practice, and we'll do just a little bit of a blither while we're sitting here. Find your feet flat on the ground, relax your knees, settle your tail. Lift the crown of your head up towards the sky. Let's do a full, long, slow exhale. Nice, smooth out breath. Let it slowly return. Once again, nice, long, slow, smooth out breath. And then as it comes back in, just quiet the breath. Bring the breath into a nice, smooth and fluid back and forth, helping the breath become smooth and slow and deep. All right, what a great way to bring ourselves into the present moment. All right, now I alluded yesterday to the idea that emotional resistance archetype number 4 is my personal favorite, and that the way that these emotional resistance archetypes work is along a continuum. So when we start off as having a resistance of being judgmental, oftentimes then that judgment attaches to someone else, and we can begin blaming them for how we're feeling or how our experience works. And then when we get to that point, all of a sudden it's like, I can't do it. You need to change something in order for me to change. I can't do it myself. I need someone else to do something in order to do it for me. So the 4th archetype is an expression of that. So when we get to the point where we need someone else to change something or do something, and they're not doing it, of course, and we need them to do it, eventually what happens, we give up, right? We just give up. And so the 4th resistance archetype is the one of not showing up, hiding. And this is my favorite emotional resistance archetype. Again, we all have our favorites. There's no judgment on any of these. It doesn't say anything about us as being good people or bad people or anything like that. This is just how these archetypes work. And the sooner that we can identify our favorite, the sooner we can begin working to move through them and to begin flowing more in our life so that we can begin tuning our emotions rather than having our emotions become these rigid, constricted things within us or these things that overwhelm us. So we want to begin to become the maestros of our emotions rather than being, again, the victims or being controlled by our own emotions. So this 4th archetype is the one of not showing up. So if you find yourself all of a sudden hiding, not speaking, keeping things to yourself, not stepping forward, avoiding other people, avoiding conversations, avoiding sharing. Like, these are all symbols and signs and symptoms of this 4th emotional resistance archetype. So maybe you've experienced this and maybe you haven't experienced this much. So I know for me, I can tell you my own experience. I know I'm experiencing this archetype when I start to avoid eye contact with people, when I start to spend more time alone than I ordinarily would spend time alone, when there's a conversation going on that maybe I don't wholly agree with, but I don't share my opinion or share my point around it, kind of thing. These are all symptoms of me for hiding. You know, for me, I also have a pretty hallmark symptom. When I wear a hoodie, I actually pull my hood up over my head, and I will feel like I just want to bundle up. I'll put the hood over my head, I'll put the hat on, and I'll kind of really go inward. I'll find myself contemplative. I'll find myself even meditating more than I usually would, and sometimes use meditation as kind of like an avoidance technique or avoidance factor. I see Janet popping up, say, that's me. Well, that's me too, Janet. So these happen to be what we call watery people who tend to associate with the water element quite a bit. Anyway, that's a traditional Chinese medicine piece. So here's the thing. If you find yourself in hiding mode, if that's your primary archetype, then what's the resolving factor for it? It's the willpower. It's the idea of willpower. And willpower, let's just debunk something for a second here. A lot of people think that willpower is about is about stopping themselves from doing something that they don't want to do. So in other words, that pint of ice cream that's in the fridge, and you know it's in the fridge, and you're like, oh my God, I'm getting these cravings for the ice cream. I really want the ice cream. It's like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to eat the ice cream. I'm not going to eat the chocolate. We think that's using willpower. That's actually not what willpower really means. We also think that willpower might be willing ourselves to do something that we want to do that we have resistance around. Like, I've got to will myself to get on the treadmill, or I've got to will myself to go out for a walk. That's also not really a good sense of willpower. Now, will by its own sense does have energy and action associated with it, but here's really what it's about. Willpower is about choosing to focus on the things that will lead us closer to that which we want. Okay, so let's just look at that again. Willpower is focus. Think about, it's about focusing our intention, focusing our mind, focusing our actions on just one step closer towards the things that we've decided that we want. That thing doesn't have to be like, the thing that we want may be a 5-year project, by the way, or we might not even see when it's going to happen in the future. But we have to ask ourselves, can I focus today on taking one step in that direction? That's all, one teeny weeny little step. And can I focus on it rather than becoming distracted by all the other things that pop up that seem to get in the way of the thing it is that I want? So willpower is really about focusing right in front of us, focusing on the next step in front of us. That's how we get ourselves moving out of the hiding. So it might be, can we just focus on pulling the hood off and then see what happens after that? What does that open up the next step? Maybe if we're in that conversation and we don't necessarily agree with it, or we do agree with it, but we don't want to put input or something like that. What if we just focus on putting anything in there like, or maybe, and just open up the door to the next step after that. So think about using willpower as just like a nudging open the door with the next step. Doesn't have to be a giant leap, just nudging it open with the next step. And that's a wonderful way that we can utilize willpower in our life. So let's think about the resolving factors so far that we've done in this paradigm or this continuum. So it started off with forgiveness. And so we come to a place of forgiveness, remember, when we use curiosity with compassion. And we ask really good natural law questions that bring us into a sense of understanding the whole picture, which is acceptance. When we see the whole picture, we can accept everything as being whole. We can accept our part in it, and we can take responsibility for our part in it as well, which then that go ahead and brings us into that third aspect, doesn't it? Because when we're able to take responsibility, we can let go of the I can'ts. And we can look into what can I do? How can I make it easy today? Which was the question we asked ourselves yesterday, and start to develop some inner strength. When we have forgiven, we've accepted, we've developed this inner strength, we can start to ask ourselves, what's the one next step I can take moving forward, which is where willpower is concerned. So that's the question for today. How do we overcome the hiding? It's what one step can I take? What one step can I take to move me farther forward in the direction that I need to move? So that is our flow shot for today, and talking about our emotional resistance archetype. Hey, Kasha and Janice is here, and Tina is here. Oh, wonderful to have you all here with me today. Thank you so much. So I hope that this was valuable to you in taking one more step in overcoming our sense of emotional resistance. So if this was helpful to you, please share it with a friend, like it so that other people can find it. Comment down below. Let's get the conversation going as we always do. Now, we're going to come back with our next flow shot on Monday. We're taking the weekend off so that I can spend some time with my family. And I've also got a couple other things that I need to take care of in some of our other programs that we're sharing with people that have gotten all moshed up with this COVID-19 stuff that we're in. So we're going to come back on Monday, and next week we'll finish up the whole way to reprogram our immune system. So Monday when we come back, we're going to be completion of tuning our emotions. So make sure you come back for that. So I'll see you Monday at noon. Until then, have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Much love, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.